Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the course Management Information Systems. Today we're going to start off with the chapter 10, that is Information and Decision Support Systems. इससे पहले module 3 में Business Information Systems में we were doing the chapter 9 that was about the enterprise systems. और enterprise systems में we looked at the different advantages and disadvantages of the ERP systems. इसके अलावा we looked at the two major enterprise systems, the CRM systems that was about the customer relationship management as well as the supply chain management systems. जिसमें we looked at the two ends of the organization, how it is creating relationship with the customers and how it is managing its suppliers. जिसमें हमने देखा था customer relationship management systems again were centralized systems that were integrating the information from all the different dimensions by taking data from those dimensions, that was from sales, from customer service, from the marketing, and integrating that data as well as analyzing the data and providing an enterprise view of the customers to the different functional areas. इसके अलावा we looked at the supply chain management systems and defined how the companies can plan, coordinate and manage their supply chains, as well as the systems helping them in the planning as well as manufacturing and distribution of the goods to the retailers. So we looked at the two kinds of enterprise systems, जो कि centralized थे, that was basically used to disperse information throughout the supply chain as well as disperse information throughout the company when they were dealing with the customer relationship management. So supply chain से what they were doing, they were creating coordination with the suppliers, and with the customer relationship management they were creating relationship and maintaining their customers by creating customer satisfaction, by retaining the customers, by keeping the customers loyal. Today we're going to look at the different kinds of information systems, जिसको हम management information systems भी कह सकते हैं, and we're going to look at the different kinds of transaction processing systems जो कि operational level के ऊपर काम करते हैं. And in the coming two lectures we're going to look at the different kinds of decision support systems and the expert systems as well in this chapter. So the learning objectives of this chapter will be that we're going to identify the basic activities and business objectives common to all the transaction processing systems. ठीक है, सबसे पहले हम transaction processing system operational level से शुरू करेंगे. Then we're going to explain the uses of management information systems and describe their inputs and outputs. So these are the two things, the TPS and an initial introduction of the management information systems that we're going to do today. In the coming lectures we're going to look at the different kinds of information systems working in the functional areas of the business, that is कि जो MIS functional area से related है हम उसको देखेंगे. इसके अलावा we're going to look at the different stages of decision making, what is decision making और वो किस किस process से गुजरती है. Once we have defined decision making, then we're going to move on to the decision support systems and describe the basic components of the decision support systems. In the end, we're also going to identify the fundamental uses of ESS, the expert systems, and what are their components. So this chapter is all about the information and decision support systems. जब हमने business information systems की बात की थी, we said that there are different kinds of business information systems. Enterprise-wide systems भी हैं that are basically coordinating the information from all the functional areas and providing a enterprise-wide view of that information. Also, these enterprise systems again work with different kinds of management information systems and DSS as well. Also, TPS is very important at the operational level. Why? Because it is basically providing the basis of all this MIS and the DSS. TPS, even though they work in different kinds of functional areas or different functional areas के अपने TPS हैं, but these TPSs can be integrated, and when they become integrated they basically form the basis of the enterprise system. Right, transaction processing systems, organizations basically have, like I said, many kinds of TPSs that are working in the different kinds of functional areas of the businesses. What are they used to do? Basically, they're used to capture and process the detailed data necessary to update records about fundamental business operations in the organization. So, आपके operational level के ऊपर TPSs काम कर रहे हैं and basic use इनका यही है that they capture and process the data that is relating to the daily activities in the business. Basically किस किस्म की activities हैं? For example, order entry है, inventory control, payroll systems, accounts payable, accounts receivable, etc. etc. So इस किस्म की जो काम है that are all done by the TPS. There are different kinds of TPS that are working in the different functional areas of the organization. So basically these TPS जो हैं transaction processing systems, they serve as the basic or the foundation of all the other kind of information systems, including the MIS, the DSS and other special information systems, including the ESS as well. So basic transaction processing systems के different processing activities हैं जो कि यहाँ पे mentioned है, that is the data collection, data editing, correction, manipulation, storage and then document protection. So ये list of activities है that are performed by all the TPS. Now let's have a look at the transaction processing levels. जब हमने बात की थी that they work at the very lower level. So here we have the TPS working at the lower level, operational level के ऊपर. और यहाँ पे हम क्या देख रहे हैं कि this has data and data is slowly converted into information when it moves from this level to this level. Right, so when we define transaction processing systems, तो हम उनको different criteria हैं जिसके ऊपर define करते हैं. Number one, we say that TPS is more about the routine work, the daily activities, the routine activities that work in the organization. So they happen more at this level than they happen at this level. So they happen less at the special information systems level. So as they move upwards in the hierarchy, तो routine के काम जो हैं वो कम हो जाते हैं and more specialized work happens at the higher ends. Then we talk about the decision support. Decision support जो है, again it's less at this level because TPSs again do the routine work and there's not much decision involved here, but again at the higher level this is more. There's more decision making, there's more problem solving at the higher level. Then we talk about the different kinds of inputs and outputs. When we talk about inputs, output, we say that TPSs basically deal with a lot of inputs and outputs. There's a lot of input that is going on in the TPSs and they are generating again a lot of output. For example, if they're getting, अगर वो payrolls manage कर रहे हैं, then बहुत सारे employees हैं, बहुत सारे employees के hours worked हैं और उनकी सारी जो pay है, payrolls हैं, वो calculate हो रहे हैं. Again, and then according to that payroll collection and analyzing, उसके बाद जो भी process हो रही है उनके paychecks create हो रहे हैं. Again, paychecks का जो output है, again that would be a lot because the company will have a lot of employees. Right, so again this input and output is less at the higher end because again बहुत specific किस्म के problems होते हैं at the very higher end और जो आप hierarchy में ऊपर जाते रहते हैं, there are very specific problem related issues जिनका input इतना ज़्यादा नहीं होगा, output भी इतना ज़्यादा नहीं होगा, but उनकी complexity ज़्यादा होगी. So like I said again, complex analysis जो होंगे that would be less at the TPS level and more as we move in the hierarchy upwards. So this is again a slight comparison of the TPS with the other kinds of information systems in the hierarchy. When in the organization, आपके TPSs जो हैं that do more routine work, they do less decision support and less complex analysis, and there's a lot of input-output involved in the TPS. So deal with large amounts of data. Right, transaction processing methods and objectives. Methods दो तरह के हैं. Transaction processing जो है that works in two kinds of ways. Number one is batch processing. Batch processing क्या है? Business transactions are accumulated over a period of time. एक जगह जमा होती रहती हैं transactions and then accumulated in a single batch and then they are processed. So when they are accumulated in a certain place, जो transactions हैं वो accumulate हो जाती हैं, जमा होती रहती हैं एक जगह, और उसके बाद all that batch is converted into a processing mechanism और फिर वो processing के through information में convert होता है. So batch processing again can occur, जो हम जिसकी बात कर रहे थे, accumulate किस तरह हो सकते हैं? Either पूरे दिन का जो transactions हैं that can be accumulated at a certain time, till a certain time and then processed at a certain time, so that would be daily, not instantly, right? Either they can happen weekly. For example, week का जो data है वो जमा हो रहा है and then afterwards all of that data is processed at one time, or it can be bi-weekly, it can be after 2 weeks, or it can be twice a week. So it depends on the different kinds of information that is required कि वो batch processing करते हैं और किस time पे batch processing हो रही है. Either it's happening daily or it's happening weekly or it's happening bi-weekly. So that means there is some delay between an event and the eventual processing of the related transaction. So एक data आपके पास आ रहा है, कोई एक event हो रहा है, for example customer का just as an example, even though invoice से related जो batch processing होती है, that should not be delayed. So for example, if the invoice is being created, or for example, अगर आपके payroll checks generate होने हैं, तो वो किस तरह हो रहे हैं? For example, it is happening twice after 2 weeks, for example. जितना भी काम है सारे के hours work जो हैं वो जमा होते जा रहे हैं, and once it has all been collected in one place, then that information is sent to processing और फिर paychecks create हो रहे हैं. So then again there are certain kinds of work that do not require instant processing. You can delay that work, so that creates a delay between the event and its actual processing, and that is creating the output. On the other hand, there is online transaction processing जिसको OLTP भी बोलते हैं. That is, the transaction is processed immediately. जिस वक्त data enter हो रहा है उसी वक्त process हो रहा है and you are getting an output. So it is essential for the kind of businesses that require current up-to-date data. For example, it can be used in companies, airline companies, ticket agencies, investment firms. For example, again, seat book करनी है, then the seat is booked. You are charging the person and you are getting the payment and the seat is booked. Ticketing agency, again, you want to have a ticket and then it's instantly booked. Investment firms will be इसी तरह because they need an up-to-date current information, so that's why they use the OLTP. So online transaction processing, basically it's faster and more efficient and it's quick. So many companies use the internet to capture and process transaction data such as customer orders and shipping information from e-commerce applications. So usually e-commerce application may, when you are capturing the data, that is happening through the help of online transaction processing. That means as soon as the data is entered, it is processed and it is stored, or some kind of output is generated. So this means that there are certain kinds of processes happening or the business activities that require the OLTP, and there are certain kinds of processes, business processes, that require batch processing. So depending on the kind of processing that is required or the requirement of the organization, आप different kinds of transaction methods जो हैं वो deploy कर सकते हैं. Then we have the different objectives that are related to transaction processing. We know that there are different kinds of transaction processing systems working in the organizations, but most of them have the same kind of objective. That means they have common objectives, okay, that are shared by all the transaction processing systems, as well as common activities that are shared by the different TPS. So firstly, talking about the objectives, number one is process data by and about transaction. So since they're all about the transactions, इसलिए the basic objective of the TPS is to capture and process and update the databases that are related with the daily data. So जो daily routine में data use हो रहा है, उनकी databases they need to be updated, and how? By capturing the data, processing the data, and updating those databases. So this is the basic objective of the transaction processing system, is that they have to keep the databases that are related with the daily data, the daily routine activities. They have to keep those databases updated. Right, next is maintaining a high degree of accuracy and integrity. Again, accuracy means data accuracy, information accuracy, and integrity means the data integrity. So whatever data is captured has to be accurate and complete. So they have to ensure that data is processed accurately and completely, and this is very critical for creating the right information. Again, आपका जो information की जब हमने बात की थी, it has to be accurate, complete, and on time, and this is very important for the TPS as well. Why? Because the data is going to be used for the key operations. So unless and until the information produced by those databases is not correct, then the data is of no use then. Right, so third point is avoiding processing the fraudulent transactions. That means any kind of fraud or money laundering needs monitoring. So they cannot process any kind of fraudulent transaction, and again that would be an inaccurate transaction, and again it is closely related with the second point. The number fourth is produce timely user responses and reports. Now, since the business transactions need to happen quickly and on time, so that's why it's always better to employ the monitoring methods that can measure and ensure the system performance, that it's working in its optimal form and it's working correctly, so that the user responses, the reports created that are being created on time. Again, these transaction processing systems basically help in increase the labor efficiency, so they don't have to do anything manually, जिसमें time ज़ाया होगा, and they can effectively use these systems in helping to do their task, and that again creates operational efficiency or excellency. Again, these systems help to improve the customer service as well, since they will have the right amount of data that will be going into the other kind of systems. So that's why the managers can use that, and the sales representatives can use this information for creating better relationship with the customers, which in turn means that these systems help build and maintain customer loyalty as well. Again, since they will have the better customer relationships, they will have that they will retain the customers, which in turn means that the customers will remain loyal to the organization or company. And like we said again, that basically आपके organization में basic चीज़ ये है that your customers need to be happy with the company. That means कि आपका competitive advantage उस वक्त achieve होता है when you have the number of customers. It's not about selling the product more, it's more about owning the customers, like I said before in the last chapter, that as long as you have the customers, you have the competitive advantage. When you can retain the customers, then automatically you can have the competitive advantage. Also, competitive advantage can be achieved with operational excellency. So you have जो हमने second chapter में जब हमने study किया था, we looked at the different kinds of ways the businesses can achieve competitive advantage is through customer intimacy, by creating new kinds of products and services, and by creating operational excellence. So they can have the operational excellence, they can have the better labor efficiency, they can have the better customer service with the help of TPSs, because they are automating the systems, they are checking the integrity of the data and integrity of the information that is going in and out of the system. So that has a major role in using that information for other kinds of purposes, for other kinds of systems, for MIS and for DSS that can be again used for by the managers to achieve the organizational goals. Now let's talk about the different kinds of transaction processing activities. Activities की जब हमने बात की थी, again we said that आपका जो transaction processing systems जब काम करते हैं, then there are common activities that they follow. Number one being, for example, you have the data here, the first thing that happens is the data collection. So the number one activity that is performed by the TPSs, number one is the data collection, and then is the data editing. That means it checks the data for any kind of problems that is because we have to check the data for integrity. That's why data editing में आप ये check कर रहे हैं. Either it's the wrong kind of data or it's the right kind of data. So we have the good data and the bad data. If it's bad, then it's sent to data correction. ये नहीं कि it's bad or it's incomplete है, so you are just leaving the invalid data all alone. No, you are going through the process of data correction as well. Then if it's right, then you go directly into the data manipulation phase. आगे जाके हम इन सबको डिटेल में देखते हैं. What are these activities all about? Data manipulation leads to simple data storage in the databases, and then they can move on to different kinds of documents and reports. This leads to document production, or it can lead to different kinds of TPS reports. Now here, यहाँ वाला जो data है वो कहाँ जाएगा? Data correction, again we're going in this kind of phase. Data correct होगा, again collect होगा, again it's going to go through the data editing phase, unless and until it passes this phase, it cannot go into the data manipulation and then data storage. Righty. So these are a simple set of activities that all the TPSs do, and let's have a look at in detail of what these activities are all about. Data collection क्या है? Sometimes data collection जो है, it's done manually. For example, people are just looking at a certain form to fill किया है, and then they're typing that in the system, or it could be handwritten sales data or inventory changes जो कि आपका system इस तरह का नहीं install हुआ होगा, that is automatically you entering the data. So you enter the data yourself. And at times they're automated through devices such as scanners and terminals at the point of sale services या point of sale terminals के through आप वो data automatically collect कर रहे हैं. For example, barcode reader से read कर रहे हैं, or you're using some kind of RFID tags को read कर रहे हैं. So these kinds of different methods are available for automatically taking in the data. Source data automation, again, it's the same concept, that data is captured at source in a digital form in a timely manner. So as soon as you, for example, you're using a barcode reader, तो barcode reader basically वो UPC codes read करता है, that are simple lines, barcodes जिनको कहते हैं. UPC codes read हो रहे हैं, उस पर क्या हो रहा है? Product ID जो है वो automatically determine हो रही है, price जो है वो database से वो उठा के ला रहा है. इसके अलावा when it has everything, तो it's inventory database जो है, that is being updated, that one item has been taken off the shelf, and the reports are generated for the store manager to record the supply. So for example, reorder the supply. If the supply is going down at a certain level, then that store manager has to reorder the supply from another outlet or the warehouse. So again, this all automates the process of keeping the store up to date with all kinds of products and the shelves complete with the products. Then we move on next to the next level, that is the data editing. Data editing is checking the data for validity and completeness. Again, this is a very crucial stage. Data तो हमने collect कर लिया, either manually collect कर लिया or automatically collect किया through the help of RFID tags or through the help of UPC codes or barcode readers. But after that, अगर manual, for example, you're typing in a certain kind of data, then obviously there are user errors. So data editing के थ्रू गुजर के डेटा आगे जाएगा, and that is checking for validity, either it's correct and it's complete or not, either you've completely written the code or not. Then these codes are checked against the already stored codes, because जो भी products, for example, एक store में पड़े हुए हैं and there is a system that is working, then that means all the products that are on the shelves, उनके codes जो हैं वो store हुए हैं already database में. So they are checked against the codes already stored as well as the prices that are already stored in the database. Next process is the data correction. Again, like we said, when it goes through the process of data editing, it is checked either the data is correct or not. If it's correct, it goes through the data manipulation phase, or it goes to the data correction phase. Why? Because आपका जो डेटा है उसको आप इनकरेक्ट तो नहीं छोड़ सकते, आप कोई एरर मैसेज देंगे, कोई अलार्म देंगे, कोई इस किस्म का मैसेज देंगे, वार्निंग देंगे on the system that this is incorrect, you have to correct it. So the person has to re-enter the data that was not properly scanned or not properly typed. So error messages are generated to specify a problem so proper corrections can be made. Some companies have also deployed data quality centers to improve and maintain the data. So there are certain kinds of data quality centers that certain companies have employed. क्या check करते हैं? They check the data for any kind of inconsistencies, or they check the data for any kind of invalidities, and try to make sure कि जो data उनके systems में जा रहा है that is complete and valid. Data manipulation. Now what is data manipulation? Is simply process of performing calculations and other kind of data transformations. So once the data goes into the system, then it goes to a certain kind of processing mechanism so that it becomes a useful information. Then जो हमने पहले बात की थी कि if you calculating the payroll of the employees, तो different data उसमें जा रहा है, and then it's going to a certain process, and then the checks that are coming as the output. So classifying the data, it includes classifying the data, storing the data in categories, calculations, summarizing results, storing data. So all these kind of activities all happen in the data manipulation phase. And when the data is manipulated, again it is used as output, or it can be stored. Data storage में क्या आ जाता है? It's updating one or more databases with new kinds of transactions. And afterwards, data is available for processing and further manipulations. In data storage is also available for reporting and decision making. So the storage में data, again, एक तो stored data, again it can be updated with new transactions. कोई और data आ रहा है, again it is being stored in the databases. Afterwards, data जो है, it is available for more processing, या तो for the time being store हुआ हुआ है, and it is available for more processing and further manipulations. Again जो हमने batch processing की बात की थी, data एक point के ऊपर accumulate हो रहा है, there are different data जमा होता जा रहा है, and then at one point it is sent off for processing and for creating certain kinds of outputs. Outputs क्या हो सकते हैं? Output could be different kinds of reports and summary reports, etc. Or it could be simple output that can be used for any kind of decision making. किसी भी तरह की information that can be used for decision making and problem solving. Next we come to the document production. Document production means simply generating output records, documents and reports. So different kinds of reports, records that are generated by the TPS, that can be in the form of the hard copy, again the example of a paycheck, or they could be in the form of a soft copy, for example a balance report, which you can see on the screen. Then document production की core functionality, it also provides useful management information and decision support functions as well. Again जो data TPS generate कर रहा है, वो data use करके आप different kinds of reports generate करते हैं for the MIS as well as DSS. In addition, it provides reports needed by local, state or government agencies. For example, taxes generate करने के लिए जो agencies को reports चाहिए होती हैं, वो भी TPSs create कर रहे होते हैं. So they can be needed by the local, state or government agencies. For example, tax paying documents जो हैं वो generate हो रहे होते हैं. So these are a set of activities that happen in all the TPSs that happen from the data collection, from they start with the data collection, taking in the data, checking the data, either it's correct or not, and then it's manipulating the data, then storing the data, as well as creating a certain kind of output. Right, जी transaction processing applications जो हैं वो different kinds of systems में use होते हैं. Transaction processing for example order processing में use हो रहे हैं, तो उसके different kinds of जो functions हैं वो कौन-कौन से हैं, they are all mentioned here. For example, order processing के functions would be order processing, sales configuration, shipment planning, shipment execution, inventory control, or accounts receivable. So these are all the functions that are handled by the TPS in the order processing systems. Purchasing system में जो functions TPS handle कर रहा है, that is inventory control of the raw material, packing material, spare parts, supplies, etc. Purchase order supplies, receivable, accounts payable. Then accounting में it's taking care of the budget, the accounts receivable, the payrolls, the asset management, and the general ledger. So different kinds of functional areas or different kinds of functionalities में so TPS जो है that is working in providing functions for all these systems. So these are the basic या आप कह लें major systems जिनमें TPS applications जो हैं वो काम कर रही हैं. I'm not going to go into the detail of all this probably because you already know कि आपके ये वाले systems जो हैं ये किस तरह काम कर रहे हैं. You can go through the book जो book में लिखा हुआ है. If you want to, you can go through that in detail. Okay, next we're going to move on to the management information systems. Management information systems again at one step higher at the middle management level in the organizational hierarchy. Again इसका जो data है that is based on the TPS का जो data generate होता है उसके ऊपर base करते हैं again. Then what is a management information systems? We talked about them before as well, that it is an integrated collection of people, the procedures, the databases and the devices that work together and provide managers and decision makers information to help achieve organizational goal. So iski tagline here that gives the right kind of information in the right format at the right time to the right people. So this is the basic tagline of the management information systems के right information, right format में right इंसान को और at the right time. So this is the basic. So for example, you have a summary report that is generated that gives a summary of the profit and losses in a certain organization, or it could be a report on the sales activity and that can be again not based, for example, it could be based on the weekly basis, on the monthly basis, and not only that, it could give you the sales activity report that is based on a certain product. It can have this dimension, the product dimension, or it can have the region dimension. For example, it can give you sales activity report of a certain region of a certain product, or it can do a certain comparison of the sales activity report of this year with the past year. So different kinds of reports that are useful for the management are generated. So these reports that are generated basically provide the managers with the insights into the regular operations of the business. For example, जो भी regular operations हो रहे हैं उनको एक proper तरीके से देखने के लिए और proper तरीके से analyze करने के लिए information जो है वो इस तरह basically generate हो रही होती है और इस तरह reports create की गई होती है so that they could be useful for the management. अब management का क्या काम है? It is used to control, organize and plan the basic operations. So that's why these information systems are used to help the managers do exactly that. That is to control and plan as well as organize the different routine functions of the organization, and as well as supporting the decision making regarding the daily operations. So ये आपके different kinds of functionalities हैं जो information systems provide करते हैं at the management level. So at the management level basically they are taking the data from the TPS, but उस data को वो इस तरह information में लेके आ रहे हैं और इस तरह display कर रहे हैं for the managers by in creating summaries, comparisons, different kinds of reports, so that they can be used in a useful manner, so that they can be used to control the organization better, control a certain functional area better, so that they can achieve the organizational goal. Now let's have a look at the different kinds of inputs to the management information systems. एक तो हमने बात की input की, we talked about the TPS, that the MIS is basically getting the data from the TPS. Basically हम इसको दो categories में divide कर देते हैं. The input that the MIS is getting, internal inputs as well as external inputs. Internal में again TPS systems भी आ जाता है, as well as different kinds of ERP systems भी आ जाता है कि उनसे भी data लेके जो वो centralized database में data डाल रहे हैं, they are getting data from there as well. So along with that they are getting data from the company supply chain as well as again they are getting data from the data houses as well as data marts. Again we said that because databases are very crucial to the organizations, इसलिए we are going to talk about them throughout the information systems. के information systems का जो data store ही हो रहा है, that is being stored in the data warehouses and different data marts as well. And the data is coming from different kinds of specific functional areas as well. So the data that is being collected from throughout the organization at different levels, and then उस सारा data को मिला के along with the external data. अब external data क्या है? That is the data coming from the customers, from the suppliers, from the stakeholders, from the partners, either through the help of the internet or through the help of the extranets links that they have created with the suppliers and the different partners. Organization ने जो भी links create किए हुए हैं, or it's coming through the intranet. So different kinds of telecommunication techniques भी यहाँ use हो रही हैं to gather the data, so that comparisons can be made, so that reports can be made, so that आपकी जो management के लिए जो भी information चाहिए for making good decisions, for controlling and planning the functional area in a better way, या daily routine in a better way, तो वो सारी information जो है वो information systems या management information systems के through managers को मिल रही है. Okay, next we are going to move on to the outputs of the management information systems. Outputs की जब हम बात करते हैं तो we said that management information systems में जो basic output है, that is all about the reports. So the basic output of the management information systems is creating different kinds of reports for the management that are useful for the management, for making good decisions, for controlling the daily routines, for planning effectively, and for doing their task efficiently as well. So there are different kinds of reports that are generated by the management information systems. Number one is the scheduled reports. Scheduled reports are the ones that occur periodically. For example, once a day hoga, weekly hoga, ya bi-weekly again, yeah, at a certain point in time, once a month as well. So depending on the kind of report that is required, इसका एक different time fix कर देते हैं और उस time पे वो report generate हो जाती है. For example, you can have a report for the performance of a sales representative. Either it can be generated through a week, for example. एक week में एक sales representative की क्या position रही और उसने किस तरह का काम किया है और कौन कौन से प्रोडक्ट सेल किए हैं या मार्केट किए हैं. So that will give you a report of one sales representative probably by the end of the week, so that उसके जो work है वो analyze हो सके. And for example, there can be a report generated once a day to monitor the production of a new item. So there can be different kinds of reports that can be generated periodically, automatically. Again, then we have a key indicator report. Basically क्या करता है, it summarizes the previous day key activities. जो पिछले दिन की key activities होती हैं, critical activities होती हैं, उनको समराइज करके पेश कर देता है on the next day. So it's basically first thing in the morning, that is वो वाली report generate हो रही है, that is giving you the key activities of the previous day, so that when you start off your day you have in front of you a detailed view of what happened yesterday, so that you can plan the work today. Right, then we have the demand reports. Demand reports basically, as the name suggests, they are generated on demand, and they can be demanded from the database exactly. So again, एक आपका query करने का तरीका है, that you basically demanding a report from the databases. So for example, आपने अगर कोई executive है and he wants to figure out the production of a certain item, कि उसका status क्या है, वो किस किस्म का item create हो रहा है, उसके production status क्या है, then what he can do is he can demand a report from the database or simply query a report from the database. So these are called the demand reports that are generated on request. Right ji. Next we have the exception reports. Exception reports basically are automatically produced when any kind of unusual situation arises, and basically ये वाली reports जो होती हैं trigger होती हैं when you have a certain parameter set. For example, if you have a parameter set on the inventory कि ये certain inventory है और इसकी जो sale है वो 5 days से कम time में चली जाएगी ये, then you have to create a exception report that this is the status of the inventory and more items are required to be items of the same type are required to be put in the inventory. So this kind of report can be generated, and the management obviously can define the trigger points and the parameters themselves. Also, they should be set carefully with careful thinking. ये ना हो कि बहुत high या बहुत low parameter send कर रहे हो, then तो बहुत ज़्यादा या reports बनना शुरू हो जाएंगी या फिर वो बहुत time पे जाके बनेंगी when the situation gets out of control. So आपको एक fixed parameters और planning के साथ parameters set करने पड़ते हैं कि reports किस time तक generate हो, and if there is an inventory problem तो उनके पास enough time हो that they can add in more inventory in the warehouses. Then the next type of report is the drill down reports. These drill down reports basically help you to achieve the detailed data about a certain situation, to get a detailed data about a certain situation. For example, a first level of drill down report would be कि you looking at the sales of the company. Uska next level of drill down would be that you're looking at the sales of a certain department. Then the next level of drill down would be that you're looking at the sales of a certain sales representative. So you can basically move into the system and look deep down into a certain sales area के जो sales हुई है वो company के अंदर, इस department के अंदर इस बंदे ने, इस sales representative ने कितनी की है. So this is a method of drilling down into the different kinds of, into a different situation or different kinds of information कि आप उसको कितने अंदर तक जाके निकाल सकते हैं. So these are different kinds of reports that are generated by the management information systems, and when these reports are generated, तो obviously they follow a certain pattern. That is कि reports जो है उनके अंदर जो data है वो inconsistent नहीं है. The data follows a certain standard and it is being generated from the same kind of database. ये ना हो कि different databases से data आ रहा है and it is inconsistent. Which takes us to the point that MIS के जब characteristics हम define करते हैं, so basically हम define करते हैं कि उनका जो report generation वाला characteristics हैं वो क्या हैं. That is, it is providing reports with fixed and standard formats. That is, कि जो reports generate हो रही हैं, they are following a certain pattern. So that अगर एक दिन एक किस्म की report generate हुई है where the location of the data is the same, that means the second day जो report generate होगी that should be exactly the same in terms of कि उसका format same होना चाहिए. Data same होना जरूरी नहीं है obviously, because so that it would be easier for you to compare the two reports or to get the information from the reports in an efficient manner. So they should have a fixed and standard formats. Also, there are certain reports that need to be present in the hard copy and certain reports that are required in the soft copy. So soft copy में भी चलेंगी, लेकिन it's always better to have the reports hard copy as well as a soft copy reports. But again, that depends on the use of the report कि किस किस्म की चाहिए. Then the next point is use the internal data stored in the computer systems. Basically, जो management information systems है वो report generate करते हैं based on the data that is already present in the system from the databases. They take data from there. लेकिन like we said that they take external data as well. So for example, they are looking at the data about the competitors, or for example the marketplace and so on. So internet is a frequently used source for that kind of data. So they are taking data from the computer systems as well as the internet, maybe for forecasting or for any kind of comparisons. Then another characteristics of management information systems is that they allow the users to develop their own custom reports as well. So whenever the users require it, for example, अगर उनकी इस किस्म की need है managers की that they need to create a custom report, तो the management information systems provides you the functionality of doing so. लेकिन इसका drawback ये है कि different kinds of people will be creating their own kind of custom reports, लेकिन they would be almost the same kind of reports or different लोग use कर रहे हैं. So it's always better कि when the MIS is being created, तो सारे managers मिलके एक किस्म की report create करें that can be used by different people, so that they can have the information that is used by different people. Then the next point is require user requests for reports developed by system personnel. That means when the information system personnel develops and implements the MIS report, they typically require others to submit a request. Formal request जाती है information system department को that a certain kind of report needs to be created. So if a manager, for example, wants a production report to be used by several people in his department, a formal request for the report is often required. So user developed reports require much less formality. जो fourth number वाला point था, custom reports में आपको formal request नहीं भेजनी पड़ती, लेकिन सिस्टम जब आपको एक इस किस्म की रिपोर्ट चाहिए होती है जो सिस्टम पर्सनल ने क्रिएट करके देनी होती है, then you require a formal request for having that kind of report. So these are different kinds of characteristics of that are mostly shared by most of the management information systems, that they follow a certain pattern of the reports जो हैं hard copy, soft copy form में भी होती हैं, internal data भी use करके create होती हैं as well as external data as well, and people can also create their own custom reports by requesting the kind of data that they require. Again, आपकी for example जो demand report है, that is again an example of a custom report and it is requested from the database. Right, so this is all for today. What we did today was we talked about the TPS, उसके हमने different activities देखी थी, उसके different objectives देखे थे, as well as the methods. Methods में हमने देखा था batch processing होती है as well as online transaction processing भी होती है. Then we looked at the different kinds of activities of the transaction processing systems, that it starts from data collection, from data editing to data correction, and then it moves on to data manipulation, data storage, and finally it creates the different kinds of documents and TPS reports. Then we looked at the different kinds of objectives that were common to all kinds of TPS. That means that it is basically used for maintaining the data integrity, data accuracy check होती है, any kind of it should not allow any kind of fraudulent or money laundering transactions. Also, it creates timely information and it increases the labor efficiency as well as it increases the customer satisfaction as well. So TPSs, we said, are greatly important for creating the operational efficiency and competitive advantage. Then we talked about the MIS, that is the Management Information Systems, जिसमें हमने define किया था Management Information System क्या होता है. Right, Management Information Systems क्या होते हैं, and then we talked about its different kinds of inputs, कि उसके inputs कहाँ से आ रहे हैं. Then we talked about the outputs of the Management Information Systems, that the reports that are generated by the Management Information Systems are of different types. Schedule reports हैं, key indicator reports हैं, demand reports हैं, exception reports हैं, as well as drill down reports. And then in the end we talked about different characteristics of the MIS. That is, okay, yes, it creates reports, but those reports are in the standard format. They are hard copy and soft copy reports, and the data is taken from the internal as well as external systems, and users can create their custom reports as well. Next, in the next lecture, we're going to talk about the different kinds of MIS working in the functional areas. Next, we're going to talk about the different kinds of MIS working in the functional areas, and then we're going to talk about the what is decision making के steps क्या हैं, and we're going to talk about the decision support systems. And in the coming lectures, we're going to continue with the decision support systems and executive systems as well. That how do they work and what are the components of and the characteristics of those systems as well. So basically in this chapter we're going to talk about the information systems working at the different management levels. So in the last lectures we talked about the information systems working at the enterprise level, and in this chapter we're going to talk about the information systems working at the management level. So this is all for today. We're going to meet in the next lecture. Thank you very much.